and welcome to Life After Lupus. My name is Andrea Lendy, sharing another chapter in my book for Sunday night story time. My book called Life After Lupus, What's Your Autoimmune Name? Autoimmune has just, it seems like it has grown so rapidly, and every other person I know is diagnosed with some autoimmune disorder. There are a lot of factors that make our bodies kind of turn against themselves, and I've come up against a lot of those, and I've won in a lot of cases. So I share what I have learned with you in the event that you or someone that you love is dealing with autoimmune. There is healing. There is life after the diagnosis, life after lupus for me. Whatever your diagnosis is, there's health and wellness. There is life after that diagnosis. There certainly is. Might take a while for you to uncover all the things that you need to uncover in order to be well. But truly, if we do the right things for our bodies, our minds, our spirits, everything will work in conjunction with the other, and healing will come. I love that. I mean, if you think about your getting a cut on your arm or your hand, we expect it to heal, and it does. Our bodies internally are the same way as well. We just need to do what it takes to get them healthy and then keep them healthy. And part of that is nutrition. Part of that is keeping our homes as chemical free as possible. And it almost seems unimaginable to be able to do so, but I found some very simple ways to do that. So would love to share some of those with you as well. But the next chapter in our book that we're reading this evening is The Perfect Meat. That's the title, The Perfect Meat. I met someone who changed my life forever, and I am forever grateful for that. I had been seeing doctors who would give me medicine, and I'd be allergic to that medicine, and I'd go home sicker than when I was there or in the hospital. I'd always end up worse, so I didn't really want to go back, and I sought out a naturopathic physician that started me on my journey to healing, which was wonderful. A long 3-year journey this first time around. So The Perfect Meat. About 90 days of seeing the naturopath, I met a woman at a warehouse where I was buying the liquid meal replacement. So I was taking this liquid meal replacement instead of food because my stomach was in such distress. I couldn't expand my abdomen to get a full breath. So I was always felt breathless, these little shallow breaths I could take. I was always yawning to try and get a deeper breath. And it was because my stomach was in such distress. So the naturopath started me on a liquid nutrition that literally sort of kick-started my body into a healing mode. So after about 90 days, I was buying it at the warehouse because the naturopath just didn't order enough to keep me in stock. I was going through a big canister, which cost me about $65 every 3 days. But that was my meal. 6 times a day, I would drink that drink mix. And so it was a little bit expensive, to be quite honest with you. But I knew within a day or two that was going to be so healing to my body. I mean, I could just feel the stress leaving my body. It takes work for your stomach and intestines to go through the digestion process. And we don't think about giving that rest all that often. We call that a fast, and nobody's too excited about fasting. It feels like we're giving up something. But when I started on that liquid meal replacement, I had no food for at least 90 days. It was just a stress reliever. And after a week, the naturopath that I talked to, I called him and I said, I don't really want to start eating. And he said, well, you're blessed. If you don't want to start eating, then your body probably needs more time to heal. So I was giving the digestive process rest, much, much needed rest. So I was buying the liquid meal replacement at a warehouse. This meat would change the path I would find for complete and total healing. On one particular day, there was a woman I had not previously met at the warehouse. She started asking me questions. She asked how I liked the drink. I told her I absolutely loved it and that it had saved my life. She asked me how I liked the taste, to which I again replied that I loved it. It was vanilla flavored, and it was much thicker than water once I put the the powder in water, it was, to me, it tasted like a milkshake, even though it wasn't. I mean, there wasn't hardly any sugar. It was just rice syrup in it. She said that there were others who didn't feel the same way and had complained about the taste. The revelation that came to me was that God had blessed me with the grace to love this drink as he required it for my healing. I used that drink for 3 years, maybe even beyond, but definitely for 3 years. And for the first 90 days, it was 6 times a day. And then after that, it was my in-between meal, or my in-between vegetable drink, if you will. This same woman had started telling me about her son who had been sick after I shared my health story with her. She said that her son had become so ill that she'd almost lost him. He was a young boy at that time, and she used organic foods to nurse him back to health. This was the first story I had heard like this, but then I heard so many after this story, the same story. Vegetables. That's it. So healing to the body. He had to learn to eat all over again, and she started with very simple steamed vegetables. Then she found that she could cook them in a wok with olive oil and onions, which added a wonderful new flavor for him that he loved. She was able to nurse him back to complete health. This conversation changed my life for the next years to come. She didn't know it, but I started the same regimen she had utilized with her son. I began steaming zucchini, which was the only thing I was able to eat for quite a while. But over time, I added more green vegetables. Kind of back then it was, I would joke and say if it was green and you could see through it, then I would eat it. Eventually, I began cooking in the wok and added more vegetables to the meal. My body healed 1 cell at a time over the next 3 years, and we still enjoy this meal frequently. It's so healing. The olive oil itself, and I use a fair amount in the wok. I put olive oil in the wok and onions, saute those, and then I add carrots and broccoli and cabbage and whatever else I may have at home. When I left the warehouse, the conversation I had had with this woman kept rolling around in my head, and I knew I had to talk with her again. I called the warehouse and asked if there was any possibility of speaking to the woman, whom I didn't have a name for, but could describe her appearance. I was told she was the manager and that she didn't call people personally. I pleaded with the person on the phone and said that the conversation with her at the warehouse had really affected me, and I would very much appreciate speaking with her just one more time. So I left my phone number and hoped she would return my call. She did call me back and gave me the single most important piece of information that would change my life forever: the name of the doctor that aided me in true healing. I had to plead with her to share the information with me. I reminded her how sick I'd been and that she had knowledge that could save my life. I was kind of still on the edge, teetering on the edge of whether I was going to live and make it through this or not. I reminded her how sick I'd been and that she had knowledge that could save my life. I was still not eating any solid food at the time and didn't know when I would be able to at any time in the future. She couldn't recommend anyone, but gave me a name. If she recommended someone to me, it would go against her policy, the policy of her company, and I could, if something didn't work out and she recommended the name of a doctor, she didn't want to put herself in the place of a lawsuit. So she wasn't really able to, but she did finally give me the name of that doctor. Somehow I knew I had outgrown what the naturopathic doctor could do for me, even though he was the beginning of this journey for health and wellness and complete healing. The new information came to me at the perfect time, as did everything else that was related to my healing. God was giving me what I needed, one step at a time. I couldn't have seen 3 years down the road when I would be well. I couldn't have seen all of what I needed to do to get well. It would be overwhelming. I may have given up. He gave me one thing at a time to do, and I followed that one thing until he gave me the next thing. And every time I was ready for the next thing, that next thing came. So my healing was slow this first time around, but I trusted in God's divine leading and guidance. He gave me everything I needed. It was difficult. I didn't feel well. It was hard, but I was obedient to that one thing, that one next thing that came every time I needed it. I hope you are encouraged by kind of listening to my story. There are really hard, difficult, ugly times that go with being sick, and especially when it seems to be a chronic illness. But I can tell you that following that leading will lead you to health and wellness. I've seen it over and over and over again. Most of our stories are very similar. We start out with food that is going to heal our bodies instead of continue to tear them down. And then we find the next thing that helps us be well. So, good luck on your journey. I am always willing to share. You can reach out to me at andrea@andrealendy.com. That's my email, andrea@andrealendy.com. I continue to share little daily messages most days of the week, about a minute or less with you over on the same Facebook page. So until next Sunday night, or until tomorrow when you'll see another short little video, have a great, great week. Seek and ye shall find. You will find what works for you. Thank you.